You spend so much of your time trying to fix things that are not yours to fix. You try to change people, force plans to work out, or worry about problems you just can't control. This is what letting go of what you can't control is really about. When you hold on too tightly, life gets stressful and heavy. But when you finally decide to just let go, something changes inside you. You feel lighter, your mind gets clearer, and you start to find real peace. Just let go, and you'll see it. You can't control everything, but you can choose to stop carrying what isn't yours. That's how you find calm, hope, and a happier life. Attachment, the root of suffering. Why do we suffer when things do not go our way? Because we are attached. We bind our sense of peace to outcomes we do not command, and we fasten our happiness to things that were never meant to last. We tie our inner stability to fragile hopes and fleeting forms, wealth that can vanish, status that can be taken, praise that fades, even the affection of others, which changes with time and circumstance. And when these borrowed things shift, as they always do, we feel wounded, betrayed, unsettled. Everything outside ourselves is borrowed. Nothing external is guaranteed to remain. This truth is not cruel. It is clarifying. As Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor who ruled vast lands yet worked tirelessly to rule his own impulses, reminded himself, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. These words are not poetry alone. They are instruction. They draw a firm boundary between what belongs to us and what never did. To be attached is to live at the mercy of fortune. Today you are celebrated, tomorrow you are ignored. Today you possess, tomorrow you lose. Today the world smiles, tomorrow it turns its back. When our peace depends on these shifting conditions, we live in quiet fear, always bracing for the next loss. We call this love, ambition, or hope, but often it is simply dependence dressed in noble language. The wise understand this difference. They grieve only what lies within their power to change. They invest deeply in character, discipline, and judgment, things no storm can steal. All else they greet as visitors. Visitors may be welcomed warmly. They may be appreciated while they remain, but they are never begged to stay. And when they leave, they are not chased. Ask yourself honestly, can you recall the last time you suffered deeply over something that was never truly yours? A role, a title, a person's approval, an outcome you expected? How many nights were spent replaying what could not be controlled? How many years were lost mourning illusions, fighting against the natural movement of life? Detachment is often misunderstood. It is not coldness. It is not withdrawal. It is not indifference to life. It is clarity. It is the clarity to love without clinging, to give without demanding return, to strive without desperation. It is the strength to stand firm while the ground shifts beneath your feet. When you release attachment, you do not lose depth, you gain freedom. You still care, but you are no longer owned by what you care about. You still act, but your peace no longer depends on the result. You still engage with the world, but you are not dragged by it. This is the quiet power of detachment. It removes the sharp edge from loss. It softens disappointment. It returns authority to where it belongs within. When nothing external defines your worth, nothing external can destroy it. And in that freedom, suffering loosens its grip, not because life becomes gentle, but because you become unshaken. Expectations and their tyranny. What is an expectation but a demand upon the future? We plant seeds of hope, tending them carefully, and demand a certain harvest as if the earth owes us its bounty. Yet the soil is wild, and the rains remain unpredictable. We imagine we can control outcomes, but nature does not heed our commands. We set blueprints in our minds and then rage, mourn, and despair when reality builds something else. In this, we become prisoners not of fate, but of our own insistence that life unfold according to our will. The Stoics called this the tyranny of expectation, a subtle, relentless form of slavery that we forge for ourselves. Each time we fixate on how things should be, we tighten the chains. Epictetus, the slave who became a teacher of kings, counseled, "Seek not for events to happen as you wish, but wish for events to happen as they do, and your life will flow smoothly." His words do not ask us to abandon hope or effort, but to free ourselves from the delusion that we can demand obedience from the world. The true tyrant within is not fate, nor fortune, nor any outward misfortune. The tyrant is our refusal to accept what is. When something unexpected happens, a plan falters, a dream shatters, a trusted friend betrays us, we shout in silent protest, "This should not have happened." We argue with the universe, and always we lose. The world continues on, indifferent to our demands, while we stand still, locked in the suffering of what could have been. Expectations are born from our longing for certainty, for safety, for reward. Yet life is a river, not a paved road. We cannot predict its turns, nor can we dam its flow. The more we demand, the more turbulent our journey becomes. Every unmet expectation becomes a wound, every should a heavy burden. Freedom lies in trading expectation for acceptance. This is not surrender, but wisdom. It is to look upon each outcome, each twist of fate, with open eyes. In every disappointment, ask not, "Why me?" but "What now?" This is the pivot that sets us free. The question, "Why me?" locks us in bitterness and regret, forever looking backward at the door that closed. The question, "What now?" turns us forward, seeking the lesson, the next step, the way to move on. The moment we stop demanding that life obey us, suffering loses its hold. Acceptance is not resignation, but the power to move with life rather than against it. Each event becomes simply what is not a punishment, not a reward, but part of the fabric of existence. When we accept reality, we regain our strength. We are no longer at war with the world. We find peace. Not because everything goes our way, but because we are no longer ruled by the tyranny of expectation. Letting go as liberation. To let go is not to abandon effort or care. It is not apathy, nor is it surrender. Rather, it is freedom from the chains of outcome, a release from the prison of constant anxiety about what may come or go. Imagine grasping a handful of sand. The tighter you squeeze, the more grains slip through your fingers, falling away beyond recall. But if you hold it gently, without desperation, the sand rests quietly in your palm. So it is with life's treasures, our ambitions, our dreams, even the people we love. Cling too tightly, and all is lost. Hold with open hands, and what is meant for you will remain, at least for a time. Letting go is not a lack of investment, it is the ultimate trust. It is to accept that whatever leaves was never truly yours to keep, and whatever remains is a gift, never a guarantee. The Stoics taught that fortune is a fickle friend. She gives without warning, and she takes without apology. To live in fear of her whims is to waste the precious moments of your existence in worry. But to let go is to say, "I will care deeply, strive honestly, and yet not bind my soul to the result." This is not resignation. It is the birth of inner liberty. Liberation begins when we measure ourselves not by what we own, achieve, or retain, but by how we endure loss, by how we rise after each fall, and by the quality of our character when everything else is stripped away. What can be taken from you, wealth, status, even reputation, was never truly yours. The world can rob you of every external prize, but it cannot touch your courage, your wisdom, or your discipline. These are the treasures that abide. They are grown in adversity and guarded in the quiet fortress of the mind. To let go is to refuse to be defined by circumstances. You do not shrink in the face of loss, nor do you cling to the fleeting. You become like the great tree that weathers all seasons, losing its leaves, yet never losing itself. There is a dignity in letting go, a kind of silent power that comes from understanding what is truly yours. Letting go is the highest form of possession, for it proves that you own yourself. In that quiet surrender, there is peace, and in that peace, the soul finds its freedom. The river and the stone. Picture a stone settled deep in the heart of a river. All around it, the water moves without pause, sometimes gently, sometimes in a wild rush. Leaves float past, branches tumble and vanish. Even great boulders are pushed along by the force of the current, but the stone remains where it is, quiet and still, untouched by the wild movement around it. It does not fight the river, nor does it try to grab at what drifts by. The stone does not mourn what the water takes away, nor does it celebrate what lingers. It simply endures. This is not just an image, it is a lesson. Life is like this river. There will always be movement, change, unpredictability. One day, people will sing your praises. The next, they may find fault with every step you take. Today, your plans might grow strong and promising, but tomorrow, those same plans could collapse without warning. Opportunities, relationships, successes, even failures, all are swept along by time's current. If you try to hold on to everything, or to fight against every change, you will only wear yourself out. The river is too strong, too relentless. It does not ask your permission to flow, but the stone teaches us another way. True strength does not come from resisting the current, but from remaining steadfast within it. To be unmoved is not to be cold or unfeeling, but to stay grounded in who you are, no matter what happens outside you. There is no need to curse what is lost, nor to grasp desperately for what floats past. The stone does not seek control, it seeks peace. Will you let yourself be tossed and turned by every wave, every shift in fortune, every word from others? Or will you learn to settle yourself, to find your center, and stand firm? The river is fate, always moving, always changing. The stone is will, your own power to endure, to remain calm, to keep your inner foundation strong. In the end, everything is carried away except what you choose to hold within. Storms will come, praises will fade, plans will rise and fall. The world will not slow down for your comfort. But if you become like the stone, solid, patient, unmoved by the noise and rush around you, you will find a kind of quiet power. You will no longer waste your strength fighting battles you cannot win, nor will you lose yourself chasing after what cannot stay. You will learn what it means to be truly strong, not by holding back the river, but by holding yourself steady, always, no matter how fiercely the waters flow. The weight we carry, from the moment we open our eyes to the world, a silent burden settles upon our shoulders. Expectations form around us like invisible stones, family, society, our own restless hopes. As we move through life, we dream, we plot, we reach. At every crossroad, resistance meets us. Plans unravel, people disappoint, the world shifts without our consent. The fragile shout at the sky, blaming fate for every disappointment, every misfortune. But those who wish for mastery, who crave real peace, start with a simple, powerful recognition. Control is not granted over the world, only over the self. The wise have always known this. The Stoics, guardians of a quiet strength, left us their lessons across centuries. The chief task in life is simply this, wrote Epictetus, once a slave and later a philosopher more liberated than most rulers, to identify and separate matters so that I can say clearly to myself which are externals not under my control and which have to do with the choices I actually control. In these few words lies the map to an unburdened life. We suffer not from the world's cruelty, but from our refusal to let go of things we cannot command. We clutch at outcomes, at possessions, at relationships, desperate for certainty in a world that never promised it. But life remains untamed, prying open our hands, stripping away whatever we try to hold too tightly. We respond with grief, with anger, with endless anxiety, convinced that happiness lies just on the other side of perfect control. Yet real strength begins not in conquest, but in surrender. Not the surrender of defeat, but of clarity, a willingness to accept reality as it is. The river does not ask the stone's permission to flow. The stone, if wise, does not curse the river's path. It simply abides, whole and unchanged, letting the current wash over it. Ask yourself, what burdens are you still clutching? What outcomes do you refuse to release? The weight you feel pressing on your spirit is not placed there by the world, but by your own unwillingness to let go. We create chains with our own hands, links of fear, of longing, of stubbornness. These chains are not real. They exist only in the mind, yet they shape our entire existence. Let this be the first lesson in freedom. The heaviest burdens are those we choose to bear. If you wish to walk lighter, you must loosen your grip. Let go of the illusion of control over fate, over others, over all that is not truly yours. Turn your focus inward, where your choices, your thoughts, and your character reside. Here, and only here, are you truly free. Begin to release what you cannot hold. Feel the weight begin to lift. The only true chains are those you refuse to see, and the first step to freedom is seeing them clearly at last. The illusion of control. Picture yourself high on a mountain, arms raised as if to command the wind to hush, the clouds to scatter, the sun to shine at your slightest wish. It is an absurd fantasy, yet in subtle ways we live this delusion every day. We set our hearts on shaping the behavior of others, steering events to match the blueprints in our minds. We plan, we hope, we try to orchestrate each detail, believing if we strive hard enough, the world will answer to our will. This illusion flatters us, whispering that we are the masters of fate, that all can be bent to our desires. But reality is quick to correct us. Every disappointment, every broken plan, every betrayal or loss is a silent lesson. You do not command the world. Seneca, who lived at the center of Roman power and yet saw through its emptiness, cautioned us well. Fate leads the willing and drags along the reluctant. The world does not bend simply because we wish it so. When we waste our energy resisting what cannot be altered, when we try to make the wind obey or stop the river's flow, we find ourselves worn down, spiritless, disappointed. The world rolls on, unmoved by our protest. What then is left to us? The wise learn to look inward and mark a clear boundary. Here, and only here, is what truly belongs to me. My choices, my responses, my attitude, my character. Everything outside this line, other people's opinions, the weather, fortunes, gifts, and losses, belongs not to us, but to the tides of fate, the will of the gods, or the endless unfolding of time. Our power is not in the outer world, but in the sovereignty of our own mind. Freedom begins the day we abandon the illusion of control. In that moment, life becomes clearer, simpler, and strangely more powerful. We conserve our strength for the things that matter, our principles, our actions, our inner life. The winds may rage, the clouds may gather, fortune may come or go, but we remain anchored, unshaken. The wise do not waste themselves in the struggle to remake the world. Instead, they master themselves. Here is the secret that turns frustration into peace. clarity about what is and is not in your hands. Give up the fantasy of commanding the world, and you will discover a new kind of power, the ability to command yourself. The only true power. What is power? Some say it lies in the ability to command armies, to amass fortunes, to influence crowds, or to dictate the course of events. From childhood, we are led to believe that power is something external, something gained by force, by wealth, by titles and applause. But listen closely to the words of those who saw further. True philosophers, the clear-sighted guides through history's storms, have always taught the opposite. The only power worth seeking is the power over oneself. Musonius Rufus, a teacher whose wisdom shaped emperors, put it plainly. No man is free who is not master of himself. This is the lesson life insists on teaching us again and again. All the riches in the world, all the recognition, every advantage you can name, these are gifts granted by fortune and can be snatched away in a moment. Reputation rises and falls, money comes and goes, people's opinions shift with the wind. Try as you might, you cannot anchor yourself to anything outside your own mind. Where, then, does power live? It lives within, in the unyielding center of your character. At every turn, in every storm, you possess a single, untouchable freedom, the power to choose your response. No matter what happens outside, you betrayal, loss, chaos, or failure, no one can force you to react in a way you do not permit. It is here, in this quiet and invisible space, that real strength resides. Here you decide whether to meet adversity with anger or acceptance, whether to answer insult with bitterness or calm, whether to let the world make you small or to hold yourself steady. Everything else is borrowed. Positions and possessions are at the mercy of chance. One day you are praised, the next you are forgotten. People's approval is a shifting sand. The wise learn to stop chasing after what they cannot keep and to invest instead in what can never be taken. This is the great paradox. As soon as you stop grasping for control over others, the world, or the future, you begin to discover a deep, unwavering power within yourself. When you truly understand this, the frantic need to bend life to your will slips away. You realize that peace is not something found outside, but built from within. The world may rage around you, storms may come and go, fortune may turn her back, but your mind is your fortress. Your character, shaped by choice after choice, moment after moment, is the only crown that cannot be stolen. To master yourself is to be unconquerable. This is the only true power, not the power to rule others, but the power to rule yourself. When you find it, you become whole, complete, unassailable, and finally, truly free. Respond, do not react. There exists a space, small as the blink of an eye, between the events that strike us and the actions we take. In this space, most people do not linger. They leap without thinking, without choosing meeting insult with anger, meeting loss with despair, letting fear or frustration dictate their every move. Life's surprises hit, and reflex takes over. Words are spoken, actions unleashed, regrets pile up. This is reaction, quick, blind, automatic. But the one who seeks strength, the one who studies the art of living well, learns another way. The Stoic disciplines himself to notice that narrow pause, that hidden moment. He asks himself, is this thing before me in my control? If it is not, if it is the weather, the opinion of others, the losses that fate hands out, he lets it go, refusing to be disturbed by what he cannot alter. If it is in his power, if there is something he can shape or improve, he chooses to act, but not with wild emotion. He acts with reason, with clarity, with calm. Seneca, whose words have steadied souls for centuries, captured this lesson. He is a wise man who does not grieve for the things which he has not, but rejoices for those which he has. Wisdom is not found in wishing the world would change to suit your mood, but in mastering your own response to whatever the world brings. To react is to hand over the keys of your mind. You let the world, with all its storms and accidents, decide your mood, your words, your next step. You become a puppet, jerked around by circumstance. But to respond, to take that small space, to pause, to choose, is to reclaim your power. You step back from the edge. You decide, in that crucial instant, who you will be. This is a practice, not a one-time act. Each day, the world will test you. People will provoke. Plans will unravel. Fortune will turn. The choice will always return. Will you react or will you respond? The difference is subtle, but it is the dividing line between chaos and calm, between being ruled by life and ruling yourself. Let the world whirl and shout. Your task is not to command it, but to govern yourself. You cannot keep storms from rising, but you can refuse to be swept away. Pause, ask, choose. With each small moment, you build a stronger mind, a steadier soul. Let the world do what it will. You choose only how you meet it. This is the freedom the wise cherish, the power to respond, never to merely react. Destructive emotions and their roots. Why do anger, envy, and fear so often command us, shaping our thoughts and actions before we can stop them? It is because we have mistaken what truly matters for what does not. Anger erupts when we believe the world should follow our wishes, when reality refuses to fit our narrow plans. Envy rises when we compare our path to another's, longing for what is theirs instead of tending to what is ours. Fear takes root when we cling tightly to what we might lose, imagining loss around every corner, worrying over what is never promised. At the core of each of these emotions is the same mistake, reaching for control over what lies forever beyond our grasp. The ancient philosophers knew this. Marcus Aurelius, emperor over countless lives, wrote plainly in his Meditations, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it, and this you have the power to revoke at any moment." The world will always move as it pleases. People will act as they wish. Fortune will come and go. Events will unfold with or without our blessing. Yet we make ourselves slaves to circumstance, forgetting that our greatest power is in how we interpret what happens, not in what happens itself. We imagine that, if only things would go our way, we would be at peace. If people treated us as we hope, if our fortunes always rose, if nothing was ever threatened, then perhaps these painful emotions would vanish. But this is a fantasy. The world is not made to serve our comfort. The wise do not spend their lives trying to command the uncontrollable, nor do they wait for perfect conditions before they find calm. Instead, they turn their efforts inward. They see that the real struggle is not with the world, but with their own illusions. It is not the outside event that gives rise to anger, envy, or fear, but the story we tell ourselves about what it means, about what we think we deserve or must have. The wise do not waste their strength battling with life. They examine their judgments, question their beliefs, and root out the errors that feed destructive emotion. Every battle with anger is a battle against expectation. Every battle with envy is a battle against comparison. Every battle with fear is a battle against attachment. To conquer these enemies, you must see them for what they are, signs that you are trying to control what cannot be controlled. In the end, the battle is always within. Victory is not in defeating the world, but in freeing yourself from the illusions that keep you restless and unhappy. The greatest peace comes when you stop waging war against life and start making peace with your own mind. This is the victory the wise seek, the only one that endures. Discipline of the mind. Self-mastery is not won in a single moment of triumph, but forged through steady discipline day after day. Life never ceases to test us. Temptation appears in 1,000 forms. The urge to clutch tightly to comfort, to insist that life yield to your demands, to lash out when disappointed. Yet, the work of the wise is not to seize, but to release, not to demand, but to accept, not to crumble, but to endure. Each morning brings another chance to train the mind, to choose calm over chaos, reason over impulse. Epictetus, patient teacher to those who would listen, advised his students to practice adversity before it arrived. When you are about to lose something, he said, remind yourself that it was never guaranteed. This is not surrender to gloom, but the cultivation of strength. By rehearsing loss and difficulty in the mind, we prepare ourselves to face the world as it truly is. Nothing surprises the prepared. Gratitude becomes possible for every gift because you know it is not owed. Equanimity becomes possible in every loss because you never claimed it as your right. The mind that is undisciplined is tossed by every shift of fortune, high one day, shattered the next. It is captive to moods, to the approval of others, to every whim of fate. But the mind that submits itself to training, questioning every thought, examining every feeling, choosing every action with care, gains a new kind of freedom. It stands as fortune's equal, no longer a plaything of events. The disciplined mind is not rigid but strong, not closed but prepared. You must become your own instructor. Watch yourself as if you were another. Each time anger rises, pause and ask, is this worthy of me? Each time desire pulls at you, remind yourself, not all things that tempt are worth pursuing. Each time you feel loss, repeat, I was always living on borrowed time. This is the daily practice of mastery, and there is no shortcut. Every day is a chance to build the habits of endurance, acceptance, and rational thought. Freedom is not found in avoiding hardship, but in meeting it with a mind that is steady and clear. To govern your thoughts, to choose your responses, to subject every feeling and urge to reason, this is the highest form of power. The disciplined mind is not the captive of fate, but its master. With each small victory over yourself, you forge an inner strength that no loss, no insult, no turn of fortune can undo. This is the discipline that sets you free not from life's difficulties, but from being ruled by them. When you become the governor of your mind, you become the master, not the captive, of your fate. The freedom of acceptance. Acceptance is not the same as giving up. It is not weakness or defeat, but true sovereignty over the self. To accept is to face life's tempests and calmly declare, this is what stands before me, yet I am unchanged within. The ancient philosophers spoke plainly. Misery grows from the stubborn refusal to let reality be what it is. We suffer most when we demand that life obey our wishes, when we insist that events turn out differently than they have. But the moment we accept what we cannot alter, suffering begins to dissolve. Its sharpness dulls, its hold on us loosens. Acceptance is not the act of yielding in despair, but the art of meeting the world with eyes wide open, rooted in what is real. This does not mean passivity, nor does it mean indifference. Acceptance is an active alignment with the truth. It is the wisdom to know the difference between what can be changed and what must simply be met with courage. Consider the oak tree in a storm. The winds rage and the branches sway, but the oak does not snap, it bends, giving way just enough to survive, its strength revealed in its flexibility. The brittle branch, too proud to yield, is the first to break. So it is with us. Rigidity invites ruin, but those who accept and adapt endure. Acceptance is the opposite of resignation. It is not a shutting of the eyes, but a deep seeing, a willingness to face reality, to name it, and to remain at peace within it. The wise do not waste their strength in futile resistance. They save their energy for the things they can shape and release the rest. In this way, acceptance becomes the beginning of freedom. You no longer chain yourself to impossible demands or unyielding complaints. You become lighter, calmer, and more able to meet whatever comes. Ask yourself, what will you accept today? What battles can you finally lay down? What tides can you let flow without fighting? In every life, there are things that cannot be moved: loss, change, the will of others, the passage of time. When you stop fighting these, you open your hands to a new kind of peace. The world does not have to change for you to find calm. You need only change your response to the world. To accept is to reclaim your power. It is to say, I will not be shaken by what I cannot control. I will meet life as it comes, standing firm, bending when I must, always rooted in my own truth. Acceptance is the path that leads out of suffering and into freedom. The question is not what life will do next, but how you will meet it. What will you accept today? In that answer, you will find your peace. Courage in uncertainty. The future stretches before us, a vast and shifting shadow, unseen, unpromised, and indifferent to our wishes. Most people, faced with this uncertainty, become prisoners of their own worry. They cling to the hope of certainty, desperate for guarantees that the world will not provide. They rehearse their fears over and over, inventing disasters in their minds, paralyzed before a future that no one can predict or control. Yet courage is not found in the absence of fear, but in the refusal to let fear decide our actions. Seneca understood this well. We suffer more often in imagination than in reality, he observed. How much pain have you felt simply by dreading what might be, by bracing against blows that never landed, by losing sleep over shadows that faded at dawn? Fear magnifies the unknown, turning ordinary risks into mountains and small uncertainties into storms. But the world moves as it will, no matter how tightly we grip our illusions of safety. The wise do not waste their lives begging for reassurance or guarantees. The Stoic faces uncertainty head on, neither turning away nor trying to predict every outcome. Whatever comes, the steady mind says, I will endure, I will adapt, I will not be broken. This is not arrogance, but preparation, a quiet confidence that whatever the future may bring, we have the strength to meet it. Courage is the art of moving forward even when the path is unclear. It is the willingness to act, to hope, to persist, even as the fog of uncertainty thickens around us. This is the discipline, to let go of the need for certainty, to step boldly into the unknown, and to trust in our own resilience. We cannot know what tomorrow holds. We cannot shield ourselves from every loss, every disappointment, every twist of fate. But we can refuse to let anxiety rule us. Let the future unfold as it must. We do not wait for it in dread, nor do we try to seize it with desperate hands. We prepare our minds. We remind ourselves that storms pass, that strength is born in hardship, that even in uncertainty, we are not powerless. With open eyes and steady hearts, we meet whatever comes, not because we know what will happen, but because we trust ourselves to respond well when it does. This is the quiet courage the philosophers honored, not loud or reckless, but enduring and sure. In the face of uncertainty, we find our composure. We choose faith in our own ability to withstand, to recover, to rise again. The world remains unpredictable, but our response is ours alone. Whatever happens, let us meet it without trembling. For the greatest certainty we can claim is the certainty of our own resolve, releasing the past. The past is a land with no road back, its gates forever locked. And yet, how often do we wander its empty streets? We revisit old hurts, replay conversations that have ended, grieve over choices that cannot be undone. We mourn the chances we missed, berate ourselves for mistakes, and nurture regrets like old friends. In doing so, we anchor ourselves to what cannot be changed. Every hour spent clinging to what is gone is an hour stolen from the life still waiting for us. Marcus Aurelius, in his quiet counsel to himself, offered this wisdom: do not waste what remains of your life in speculating about your neighbors, unless with a view to some mutual benefit. Suppose you are often forgetting what is truly yours, your present power of action. The world behind you is set in stone. The world before you is still being written. The only time truly yours is now. To let go of the past is not to erase memory or deny experience. The wise do not forget they remember, but refuse to be bound. The past becomes a teacher, offering its lessons in silence. Its pains remind us where not to step again. Its joys recall what is precious and fleeting. But to dwell too long in what has already happened is to miss what is happening now. Life slips away, moment by moment, as we stand facing backward. We are not our history. We are not the sum of every mistake, every missed opportunity, every sorrow. The present is always offering a chance to begin again, to choose differently, to move forward unburdened. This is not easy. Old wounds ache. Regret can feel heavy as stone, but to reclaim your power, you must loosen your grip. The chains that hold you to yesterday are forged in thought, broken only by acceptance. Let the past speak, but do not let it rule. Let its lessons serve you, but do not serve them in return. The wise accept what cannot be changed and turn their gaze to what can. What remains is your capacity for action, for kindness, for courage, for growth here, in the present. Ask yourself, what are you still carrying from the past that no longer serves you? What memory, what sorrow, what anger is stealing your peace? Set it down, honor it, learn from it, then let it be. Life is too short to be lived in the echo of old stories. To release the past is not to lose it, but to place it gently where it belongs behind you. Each day is a new threshold. Cross it with empty hands, ready to shape what comes next. The present is yours. Claim it. Let the past be your teacher, not your prison, and step forward, free. Patience and endurance. Letting go is not something done once and forgotten. It is a daily practice, an art that grows through patience. The world will never stop testing you. Delays appear at every turn. Plans stretch longer than you hoped. Progress comes in inches instead of miles, and the future keeps its secrets just out of reach. In these moments, patience is the shield of the wise. It is far easier to rail against waiting, to clench your fists and demand that life unfold on your schedule. But this is not the way of strength. Seneca, who endured much himself, reminded us, no great thing is created suddenly. The best things in life, wisdom, character, peace, are not built in a day. They are carved out slowly, through the repeated act of waiting without anger, striving without visible reward. Endurance is not passive resignation. It is the active choice to persist, to stand firm and steady when the outcome is uncertain and the path is long. It is to remain kind and composed even when frustration tempts you to give up or lash out. Every difficulty you meet with patience is a silent victory. Each day you refuse to let bitterness take root. Each time you hold yourself steady while the world seems to spin around you, your strength deepens. There is quiet power in continuing to show up, to do what you can, and to trust that time will do its work. Endurance does not always shout. Often it is the gentle, unwavering voice inside you that says, "Continue." The impatient live in constant agitation, always hungry for what comes next, forever dissatisfied with the present moment. They miss the small growth, the quiet progress that is happening beneath the surface. The patient, on the other hand, move with the rhythm of life. They understand that waiting is not emptiness, but a necessary season, a part of all that is built to last. Ask yourself, Where can you practice patience today? What difficulty can you endure without complaint? Each moment spent waiting with a calm heart, each trial met with endurance, shapes you into someone unshakable. With patience, every delay becomes a teacher. With endurance, every hardship becomes a stepping stone. In the end, it is not the speed at which you move, but the steadiness with which you persist that determines your strength. The world will not always hurry for you, but you can always choose how you wait, how you endure, and in that choice lies your peace. The impatient are always restless, the patient always at peace. Let patience and endurance become your companions, and you will find yourself untroubled by the delays and detours of life. The role of adversity. Adversity is the fire in which true character is tempered. It does not come to single out or punish, but to shape, to test, and to reveal who we are beneath the surface. The Stoics did not shrink from hardship. They saw it as a necessary ingredient for growth, a field on which the virtues are trained, Musonius Rufus reminded his students. No man is so fortunate that adversity will not come to him. Trouble finds all, regardless of status or preparation. What matters is not the arrival of adversity, but how we respond when it stands at our door. When hardship comes, many are quick to curse their luck, to complain about the unfairness of fate, but the wise see another path. They recognize that each struggle offers a choice. Will you use it to become stronger, or will you allow it to make you small and resentful? Every challenge holds within it the seeds of growth. Suffering can harden the heart, or it can soften and strengthen it, make us brittle or make us resilient. The difference lies not in what happens, but in what we do with it. Difficulties strip away illusion. When comfort is taken from us, we see what remains, our habits, our reactions, our beliefs. This is the crucible where real progress happens. The world does not owe us ease, it offers lessons through trials, shaping our spirit in the process. In facing adversity, we learn patience, endurance, humility, and perspective. Each obstacle becomes a teacher. Each setback an invitation to discover reserves of courage and creativity we never knew we had. It is easy to wish for a life free from trouble, but such a wish is empty. A life of pure comfort breeds weakness, not wisdom. The world shapes us through resistance, not relaxation. Just as the blacksmith's hammer forms the blade, adversity shapes our will and our outlook. We cannot decide what storms may come, but we can choose to stand firm, to learn and to grow from them. Ask yourself, what will you do when hardship finds you? Will you retreat, complain, and surrender to bitterness? Or will you face the trial with steady eyes, welcoming it as the teacher it is? Adversity reveals our true strengths and weaknesses. In its grip, we are given the chance to become more than we were before. Let us meet adversity not with dread, but with resolve. Let us see it as the necessary counterweight to comfort a force that carves character and instills wisdom. Every hardship is a lesson in what we can endure, in how we can transform suffering into understanding and pain into resilience. In this way, adversity becomes not an enemy, but an ally in the pursuit of a life well lived. Greet it, learn from it, and let it strengthen you. The company we keep. Much of our inner turmoil springs from our relationships with others, their opinions, their moods, their unpredictable actions. We long for approval, for understanding, for justice in how we are treated. Yet, just as the wind and rain obey no command, so too do the hearts and minds of others remain beyond our reach. We hope to be welcomed, to be valued, to be seen as we wish, but life rarely unfolds so neatly. The words and deeds of those around us can lift us up or wound us deeply, but it is our own attachment to these things that brings the deepest unrest. Epictetus, who understood the world's unpredictability, taught his students, It is not things themselves that disturb us, but our opinions about them. Our suffering arises not from what others do, but from how we judge and cling to those actions. The wise do not place their peace in the hands of another. They select their companions with care, seeking those whose presence uplifts and strengthens. Yet even then, they do not chain their happiness or serenity to the shifting conduct of friends, family, or strangers. We can offer kindness, but we cannot ensure it will be met with gratitude. We can speak honestly, but we cannot force others to listen or agree. We can be loyal, but we cannot guarantee loyalty in return. The wise understand that while we may plant seeds, we cannot command their growth. Our task is to act well, to be fair, compassionate, and true without tying our inner stability to the unpredictable harvest. This is not a call to isolation, but to freedom. When we release the need to control the actions or affections of others, we unbind our spirit from endless disappointment. No longer do we ride the waves of approval or rejection, praise or blame. We become anchored in ourselves, able to give and receive without expectation, to care without being consumed. Consider carefully the company you keep, for companions shape our thoughts and habits. Surround yourself with those who encourage virtue and wisdom, who challenge you to rise higher. But always remember, your peace is your own to guard. Let go of the urge to manipulate or win over every heart. Give what you can, accept what comes, and hold lightly what does not. Freedom is found in this letting go. When you stop demanding that others fulfill your wishes, when you drop the chains of need and control, your spirit can finally breathe. You become open to connection, yet immune to the storms of others' unpredictability. Offer friendship, speak your truth, and move forward, secure in the knowledge that your well-being rests in your own hands, not in the shifting tides of other people's choices. Simplicity and focus. The world surrounds us with noise and distraction, luring us into endless pursuits that drain our time and scatter our minds. Temptations are everywhere, new desires, new possessions, new comparisons to others, each one calling us away from what truly matters. The wise, like the Stoics before us, learn to cut through this clutter. They do not chase every opportunity or cling to every invitation. Instead, they strip life down to its essentials, holding fast only to what serves their highest purpose. Marcus Aurelius offered simple advice: if you seek tranquility, do less. Simplicity is not deprivation or lack. It is abundance of focus, the richness that comes when the mind is free from unnecessary wants. The fewer things you cling to, the lighter your spirit becomes. Every extra desire is a new chain. Every attachment, another source of possible disappointment. When you try to hold everything, you end up holding nothing well. True focus begins with letting go. Release what does not serve you: excess possessions, pointless ambitions, comparisons that breed envy, obligations that do not align with your values. When you free yourself from these burdens, you reclaim the power to direct your energy where it matters most. Simplicity does not mean withdrawal from life, but engagement with it on your own terms. With each letting go, clarity sharpens. You see what is truly important. Your path becomes straight, your mind quiet, your actions deliberate. You become less troubled by small setbacks, less shaken by what you cannot control, less distracted by the trivial and the fleeting. In simplicity, you find peace, not the peace that comes from getting everything you want, but from no longer wanting everything. Consider your own life. How many things do you chase that do not truly serve you? How much of your suffering is rooted in desires you never questioned, or in comparisons you never needed to make? The Stoic seeks not to possess more, but to need less. In this needing less, there is profound freedom. Simplicity is a kind of discipline, a daily practice of returning to what matters most. It is not always easy in a world that glorifies more achievement, more possessions, more excitement, but the reward is unmatched. A mind at ease, a heart undisturbed, a life pointed with unwavering direction. Let go of the excess. Focus on what you can control. Cherish the few things that truly matter: your character, your purpose, your peace of mind. Everything else is just noise. In the end, simplicity is not an empty life, but a full one, a life where you can see clearly, act deliberately, and rest quietly in the calm that remains when all the trivial things have been left behind. Living in the present moment is the only possession that can never be taken from us, yet it is also the one we most carelessly abandon. We race after futures always just out of reach, weighed down by dreams of what might be. At the same time, we drag the burdens of the past behind us, reliving old wounds and wishing for second chances. In this endless chase, we neglect the one moment that is truly ours, now. The wise know the power of this instant. They train themselves to remain anchored in the present, to let go of what has already passed and release their anxious grip on what is yet to come. Marcus Aurelius offered simple counsel: confine yourself to the present. In these words lies the secret to peace. The present does not demand regret for what is lost, nor does it require anxiety for what might happen. It asks only that we show up, awake and attentive, meeting life as it arrives. To live in the present is an act of letting go. It is the refusal to be haunted by yesterday or to be consumed by tomorrow. When we practice presence, worry fades into the background and regret loses its sting. Action replaces rumination. Being replaces longing. The mind becomes clear, the heart light. Living now is not about ignoring the future or forgetting the past. It is about refusing to let them rob you of the only time you can shape this moment, right here. Every breath, every decision, every word spoken or withheld happens in the present. This is where life unfolds, where joy is found, where peace is possible. Ask yourself, how often are you truly here, not pulled away by what was or what might be? Each time your mind drifts, gently return it to the moment at hand. Pay attention to the world around you, to your own thoughts and feelings as they pass. Life is not lived in memories or in predictions, but in presence. Here, in the present, there is no space for regret or anxiety, only for what is real, for what you can do, for who you can be. The art of living well is the art of meeting life as it comes, with open eyes and a steady heart. Nothing else is required. Let go of the urge to rewrite the past or control the future. Root yourself in what is happening now. When you do, you will find a deep and lasting freedom, a calm that cannot be shaken by the storms of memory or the winds of expectation. The present is your true home. Choose to live in it, and you will discover the quiet joy that waits in every ordinary moment. Death and the limits of control. Nothing reveals the limits of our control more completely than death. It stands at the end of every path, unmoved by wealth or poverty, fame or obscurity. Kings and beggars, the celebrated and the forgotten, all are summoned in their time. The Stoics did not look away from this reality. They faced it, even welcomed it, as the final teacher. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "It is not death that a man should fear, but he should fear never beginning to live. Death is not the enemy, it is the great clarifier." When we remember our mortality, our vision sharpens. The distractions and anxieties that once seemed so pressing fall away. The future is no longer an endless stretch. It is finite, precious, and unknown in its length. We are forced to ask, what is truly important, knowing that everything must be left behind? Wealth, possessions, and status lose their grip when measured against the certainty that none of it travels with us past the threshold. What remains when the last moment comes? Only the way we have lived. The choices we made, the character we built, the courage we displayed, these are ours, the only legacy we can shape. Our power does not lie in postponing death, nor in accumulating more to shield us from it, but in how we use the time we are given. The mind, the will, the spirit, these are our domain. Everything else is on loan. To let go in the face of death is to live with full attention. We stop clinging to what cannot last, possessions, the praise of others, even our own plans and ambitions. Instead, we hold loosely to all that is temporary and grasp tightly to what is timeless. Our principles, our kindness, our capacity for courage and wisdom. Death makes honest men and women of us all, for it asks what remains when nothing else can be held. The wise do not ignore or dread this truth. They use it as a guide, letting it strip away what is false, unimportant, or trivial. Each day is seen not as something to be squandered, but as a rare and fragile gift. We are called to live boldly, with intention, investing in what cannot be taken, our actions, our honor, our love. When we accept the limits of our control, especially in the face of mortality, we begin to live more freely. We stop fighting against the inevitable and start using our freedom where it counts. We become less afraid of losing what was never ours to keep, and more determined to shape who we are with what is in our hands now. Death levels all things, but it also reveals what truly matters. To live well is to embrace this truth, not with fear, but with gratitude. For when we let go of what we cannot hold, we discover the only thing that endures, the person we become along the way, the quiet power of letting go. In the final accounting of life, it is not what we have accumulated, nor what we have defended, nor even what we have achieved that gives us our deepest strength. It is what we can let go. To let go is not a sign of defeat or weakness. It is the mark of a spirit grown wise through hardship and understanding. It is to stand calmly before the world and declare, "Do as you will. I remain as I choose." The storms will surely come. Hopes will be dashed. Plans will be broken, and even the brightest joys will sometimes fade. Loss is not just possible, it is certain. But in the act of letting go, we find a quiet and untouchable power. This is not because we are immune to pain, but because pain no longer holds us captive. Life is relentless in its demands. The world is ever-changing, sometimes kind, sometimes cruel, always moving beyond our control. We are tempted to clutch tightly to what we love, to guard our treasures, our relationships, our reputations, our dreams. Yet, the harder we cling, the more brittle we become. Every attachment, no matter how noble, carries within it the seed of suffering. When we measure ourselves by what we hold, we are always at risk, always one step away from losing what we believe we cannot live without. The wisdom of the ancients speaks plainly. True freedom is not found in what we possess, but in our willingness to release. The Stoics, with their hard-earned clarity, remind us that the mind, once mastered, is truly free. Freedom, they teach, is the power to choose your own response, to decide, in every moment, what you will cling to and what you will release. Letting go is not the denial of feeling. We are not called to numb ourselves, to pretend that nothing matters. Rather, letting go is to acknowledge our attachments, to honor our losses, but to refuse to be ruled by them. We accept that joy and sorrow are both guests in our lives, and we greet them with equal openness, but neither is allowed to own us. Letting go is an act of courage. It is to trust that whatever leaves was never truly yours to hold forever, and whatever remains is a gift, not a guarantee. It is to step into uncertainty with steady heart, to accept that what is gone cannot be returned, and what is coming cannot be perfectly planned. The world may disappoint, people may fail us, even our own bodies will one day refuse to obey. Still, There is a space within us that is untouched by loss, a place where choice remains. Loss is certain, but suffering is optional. We are not the sum of what we cling to, but the measure of what we can release. Think of the river that runs its course, carrying away leaves, branches, even stones. The river does not mourn what it cannot keep. It flows on, accepting change as its nature. We too must learn to let life move through us. We can grieve, we can feel, but we are not defined by what is taken. Each time we release, we make space for something new. Each time we surrender our grip, we reclaim our freedom. Letting go is not just a response to great tragedy or loss. It is a practice woven into the fabric of everyday life. We let go of the need to be right, of old grudges, of past failures, and imagined futures. We release the desire to control others, the hunger for approval, the hope that life will always go our way. With every letting go, we find ourselves lighter, clearer, more at peace. This is the heart of ancient wisdom. The mind, once mastered, is free. When we realize that we can choose our response, that we can decide what deserves our energy and what does not, we discover a wellspring of power within. No storm, no loss, no disappointment can touch this inner fortress. The world will do as it will, but you remain steady, calm, unowned by circumstance. To cling is to suffer. The more tightly we hold, the more pain we invite. Our happiness becomes dependent on things beyond our control, on the opinions of others, on outcomes we cannot guarantee, on possessions that time and chance may claim without warning. Every day is an invitation. Will we chain ourselves to what we cannot keep, or will we choose freedom? To release is not to care less, but to live more fully. It is to be present, to meet life as it is, not as we wish it would be. Letting go is the only path to lasting peace. It does not mean indifference, but a profound acceptance. We accept that we cannot hold on to every moment, every person, every success. We accept that change is the only constant, and that nothing outside ourselves can guarantee our well-being. What remains, after everything else is stripped away, is our own mind, our character, our choices, our courage. In every moment, the choice is ours. We can clutch at the fleeting, growing ever more anxious, or we can open our hands and release. This is not a lesson learned in a single day, but a discipline practiced for a lifetime. Some days we will cling, and we will feel the weight of our attachments. Other days we will let go and know the relief of freedom. With each effort, we draw closer to the quiet power that is our birthright. Let us choose freedom again and again, not because it is easy, but because it is the only way to live with peace. Letting go is the silent strength that endures after every storm, the steady hand that writes our story even as the world spins beyond our command. In the end, it is not what we hold that defines us, but what we are willing to release. Only there, where we choose to let go, do we find the truest kind of peace.